Blog Talk Radio.
Black jeans, black tee and a black fitted, black tinted windows fitted. On a black Civic, black man to make them disappear like black magic. I don't care if you red, white, blue, or black flagging. Still get my ones on the block with my pants sagging. Black bragging, put in the back of a black wagon. Black hearses line up for y'all with whack verses. Black writer that'll get him on wax murder. But it's more to this rapping and getting them clap murders. Spitting nothing but the truth. Show you this cat nurtured. I came a long way from upbringings and black churches, black Jesus, staring at black pictures is ghetto genocide due to a black Hitler. How long I got till my life fade to a black picture, black visions from up to the snack cowards, holding my fist up, I'm screaming for black power. Wasn't a whack premise to enter this black business till an art form of rap changed to a whack business. Quite tragic, more wicked than black magic. While rappers sold themselves out, them black bastards. I'm real on the mic, cats giving me cat calls. I say, I'm getting you blackballed, middle finger to the world. Oh, is that all? On my knees, I'm making these cats crawl. Part of the black wall, not the Dow Jones Homes or the NASDAQ. But cats know I'm a hazmat, the ass rap. You stereotyping black-ish for racist or black king. I never been a black prince until black visions from a brother that smack cowards. Holding my fist up, I'm screaming for black power.
Black Power. Do you want to end on that?
No.
Reckless 2.0. Yes, you're back for another episode, another program here with Vickiss and D-Train. Are you there? Hold on. Try to unmute you. D-Train.
Yes, I'm here.
Oh yes, I was attempting to get used. I'm attempting to get used to this new user interface for the switchboards for Blog Talk Radio. But anyway, yeah, how have you been, sir?
Still learning. What about you?
As well as can be expected under these conditions, and certainly some long days on the plantation as of late, but making it through.
Absolutely.
Yes. So, I guess before we get into our show's topic, the title, Mandingo, this film. But before we delve into that, any housekeeping, anything that's been going on that you wanted to mention?
Monday, football day, white children. This is the program. I'm pretty comfortable saying the word racist. I don't consider it name calling. He hasn't admitted to being racist. I do believe that he has a negative perception of black people. And he also says that Mr. Haley Fuller Jr. is a fraud and a black supremacist. We'll be sure to ask him what that means. At 1 p.m. interview with K-Kilo. Although I won't call him racist on the program.
But I certainly would like to ask him: Is he a racist? Certainly,
I'll
ask.
Definitely ask. But yeah, the suspected racist thing. I think he takes exception to that. If we're going to get any constructive information out of him, I think we're going to have to leave the suspected, check that at the door. But we certainly will be asking if he's a racist.
Certainly a important question to ask, regardless of the answer, I'm sure. Based on the evidence, your conclusion is, I guess, highly suspicious. I know. Just when I first was listening to some lectures from Dr. Welsing and Neely Fuller Jr. on YouTube. This is, I say, roughly a year and a half, 2 years ago. This was one of the first videos, that I saw when looking and searching for Neely Fuller Jr. Videos, and it said Neely Fuller Jr. is a fraud, and I listened to this white person, and it just really, really. I don't want to even. I can't say it's refined because it's so. It's just so. This person is just so incorrect with his facts and things that he says, but he's very, 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 very skilled with words. So it should be a very, very interesting interview. In my opinion, I definitely have some serious questions for him, especially throughout with not only just his views on the code book, but just some other videos that he's blatantly saying that this alleged system of racism, white supremacy, and this is a white person who read the code book, and this is needs to be highlighted, underlined, italics. This is a white person who read the code book. So
especially because other people, white people, that I believe there are quite a few white reviewers on Amazon who have read the code book, highly suspicious, I would add, but who actually, I guess, enjoyed the book and didn't see anything, quote unquote, black supremacist about it. Still highly suspicious that they read the book, but so I'd really like to ask him what is incorrect about anything Mr. Fuller said in this book, and also we are going to contrast it to the bell curve. Mainstream science which suggests that niggers should be sterilized. And, just get his thoughts on that, and how racist he thinks that book is.
Indeed, I would definitely be interested to hear his response. It's just. Let's see. Let me read. Just to give a quick preview. But I would like the opportunity to go on to your show and defend my position, which is that Fuller is a fraudulent, manipulative, conning black supremacist cult leader whose ideas have absolutely no merit whatsoever. That's all. So that's just the preview for what we'll be dealing with this Monday, July 4th, Independence Day. Yes.
Yes.
Yeah. Should be very appropriate. Got to roll up the sleeves.
And very racist. Also, I'm not gonna gossip.
Yeah, you are. What is it?
Oh, well, this gentleman, racist.
Where's the codification resisting? But go ahead.
I believe he was so eager, quote unquote, to come on and prove Mr. Fuller to be a fraud, but we had to pull teeth to get a showtime from this guy.
Yes, and he was actually practicing. I suspect he was practicing racism, even in setting up these times, asking, do you understand me, and just being so condescending and saying this alleged system of racism, white supremacy, and just pretty much attempting to, attempt to have outward conflict before the program. I believe he said, well, this time period, it might be the last thing we have agreement on. So, yeah, should be fun. So, should be fun. Just keep in mind what's fun for a white person. Practicing.
The mistreat people because they are not white. And he was just being really pushy with the showtimes. I guess I think some of the listeners, I work 2 jobs. I work 7 days a week. And he was just being really pushy with the showtimes. Like, look, this is our program. Like, you wanted to come on here. We just asked you questions. You want to come on. And you're so eager to come on. So, give us the showtime. Oh, well, I'm available on weekdays in the afternoon. Well,
yeah.
Like, come on now.
Does a suspect work? As you said.
One of his questions will be, what does he do for a living? Kilo.
I'm just prepared for the buckets of words that are coming. He's very somehow reminiscent of Mr. Nigger. I'm really prepared for that. We might have to break out the we might have to debut the reckless checklist, where we have a checklist of a racist code that we will check off while listening to our guests. It'll be a standard list, and we'll check off the times certain words are mentioned, the Jew thing is thrown out there, look at China response, things of that nature.
When he's being condescending, when he's being patronizing.
When we hear the line, there's only one race, the human race. If I hear, it's just, when you hear that, just, there's a red flag on a play, done,
Oh, and I want to ask if he's a cowbell, too. If you remember one of his videos, talking about the brilliant black female, that did work that, kind of corroborated his viewpoint. He was like, oh, well, she's fucking hot. I don't know if you recall that in one of his videos. I think it was in the Black Supremacist Economics video.
Yes, I do remember that. I suspect that the level of semi-overt racism that this white person is practicing, it's highly likely that there's some cowbell going on, or has gone on, or
and he's a self-identified libertarian, right? Oh, this is going to be good. Everybody tune in on Monday. Self-described libertarian. I don't know what that means, but, when white people describe themselves as such, you're going to get a real unique and overt brand of racism.
This is true. Oh, so, anything else?
Racist on Monday.
But we could save that for later on in the program if it comes up to you, if you can't remember or anything like that. I'm trying to think myself. Oh yes, T-shirts. I've been working on and been collaborating with D-Train on produce on ideas and actually concepts for T-shirts, counter-racist or attempted counter-racist T-shirts that just say non-white across the chest, or you can get a quote-unquote well-meaning white person, if there's ever, if there is such an animal. You can get one of them to wear a shirt that just says racist across the chest, and just that, there's different things. There's different ideas, different symbols on them, and different messages that that will be sent when wearing these, and who's wearing them, and where. And I think it could be an interesting counter-racist science project to see if what the results would be wearing these, and the conversations the dialogue that can be struck from wearing these in public.
Yes, sir.
So, yeah, go ahead.
Oh, no, continue.
Oh, no, I was just going to say that. So in the near future, definitely keep a lookout for that. Yeah, posting things on on Facebook and on Blog Talk, and just we'll be speaking about it more in depth as we progress in getting this off the ground.
Definitely. Just one more announcement. Contextofwhitesupremacy.com is coming soon. I'm trying to wrap things up on the back end on my, on my testing environment. For those that don't know, I'm actually the person behind the design of Gus's site. And that is relevant to Reckless because I think soon we will be migrating off of Blog Talk Radio. Soon, I hope, by at least September. September at the latest, I think we should be off of Blog Talk Radio. No download button, advertisements embedded in the, just trifling.
Yeah, it's definitely some changes went on. Definitely some moves. Got to make some moves. Got to make moves, for various reasons.
So look out for Reckless. We'll probably be having a show page by September. And contextofwhitesupremacy.com I'm hoping to have finished in July, like in the month of July. So not sure how early. I was shooting for July 4th, actually, but we'll see.
Cool. So yes, also just the call-in number. If you would just like to have any questions or comments, or would like to join in on the discussion about Mandingo, please feel free to call 1-917-889-2965. That's 917-889-2965. All right. But
mood.
Excuse me?
Said I am in a sour mood after seeing.
Yes. Why are you in a sour mood? What put you in a sour mood about this film?
No sexual white people, period.
Yes, I think that's definitely the the end result. At the end of the day, message. If you glean anything from it, it's stay out of the bedroom.
Okay, so I guess, do you want to do a character analysis?
There's just so much in this film. For those of you who haven't seen Mandingo, it is. Let me just. It's a classic. I guess as white people like to term it, a blaxploitation film. Came out in 1975. had the actor Ken Norton as Mandingo. It's pretty much it takes place during I believe the 1840s or 1830s, during the slavery phase of racism and white supremacy in the area of the world known as Louisiana. And it's it takes place on a plantation, and there's the prized Mandingo slave Meade, played by Ken Norton, who was a heavyweight champion during the time of this film in boxing. Very, very key. And
had son, his son, I believe, was a Pro Bowl middle linebacker.
Mm-hmm. Yep. That's certainly of note. And this film is just it's really I would say that the codified title of this film, if I could just retitle it just to make it as as plain as day, they live with the glasses on, just out there, it would just be called Cowbell, or slave rape, miscegenation, slave rape. That's pretty much what this film would amount to. And it's essentially, it's not only just that, it's just the degradation in this film, the amount of sexual abuse and sexual sewering of black females, and the just amount of sexual deviance from white people enacted with, even intermingling with themselves, is it's quite it's definitely it's astounding. It's baffling, and it's a prime example, and it's just really it's I would say it's definitely within the top 3 most blatant and overt, and just you can learn them in the most just the most I guess educational in terms of counter racism, the most educational films on white supremacy. I think it's when I first saw it, it just really seeing all the markers and all of the the red flags of racist man and racist woman and their patterns. And not only is this film over 40, close to 40 years old, but it's it's over 40 years old, but it's also portraying a time period that was over 100 years or before it, and it's still consistent patterns. And it just seeing it was definitely a tough watch, and really puts you in a mood, especially being a black male.
No comment. Agreed.
So, I guess where to start? I guess I would just start off with the beginning of the film, I would just start off with the beginning of the film, and I would ask you, do you remember the scene where they were checking the slaves and making them bend over, checking for hemorrhoids, and checking their teeth, and just really on the auction block and going down the line. And do you remember that? And when I saw that, this was when I first saw Mandingo. This was around the time where in multiple schools they were doing the slavery reenactments for Black History Month in elementary schools in the Midwest, and I remember the black students saying that what they had to go through in front of their white students with, checking their teeth and making them bend over and cough and things like that. And I just think it was just seeing that and then that being very happening in a closely related time. It definitely really drove home how ingrained in white in white culture these this method of treatment is, and how much, I guess, fun that white people were having when they did it then, throwing a stick, telling him to go fetch, making him drop his drawers in broad daylight in front of everybody, things of that nature. And it was just so entertaining that they have to reenact it in elementary school. And I just wanted to ask, what did you think of that scene, and that just being within the first 2 minutes of the film?
Well, I knew I was in for a wild ride after the first 2 minutes. And to be honest, even outside of that so-called educational context, I think whites practice racism by doing this to us every day. I feel like every day I'm kind of poked and prodded by a racist man, a racist woman, for your abilities. Are you that magic Negro? I just feel like this practice still goes on to this day. To this day. I think they're always poking and prodding you, making sure, you're a good nigga.
Also reminded me of the draft on that Austrian block.
Yeah, it does actually remind you of the NFL draft and the NBA draft. All of those racist events.
Agreed. Let's see. So I guess we can go into characters in this film. I guess we could start off with the son of the plantation owner, about to be the owner and inherit that plantation, Mr. Hammond. Dee, did you want to go into Mr. Hammond? I believe you had some really good observations about Mr. Hammond.
Tim Wise.
Yes.
I mean, when I first observed how he acted, how he behaved, how he functioned, I'm thinking this is a racist in the mold of Tim Wise. Very deceptive. I remember when he was talking to, I guess, his slave mistress. It just acted like he had a whole bunch of general empathy for these non-white people on this plantation. He was still practicing racism at the same time. I remember.
And please go ahead. I was just going to say, and the impact it had on non-white people. They bought it.
Confused everybody on the plantation. At the end of the movie, and Mandingo says, I guess this is when he wakes up, right before he dies. He says, I thought you were a different type of white person, but you're just white. So obviously, I think that reveals how confused all of the victims on the plantation were the whole time about what type of person they were really dealing with, because he was a bit more refined, even in a really overt stage of racism. And I mean, he showed his overt side a few times during the film. Yeah, Pennywise, that's the first person I thought of when I observed how he functioned. I believe he had an exchange with a female victim, one who he was raping, cowbell, and in this exchange, he was like, "Well, why don't you look me in the eyes? Oh, you're so pretty." You buy her things, buy her trinkets, wanted her to go with her on trips, even over his wife. Just keeping non-white people on this plantation in a state of confusion. Illustrating, saying we're one big happy family instead of saying, hey, we're on the plantation. If I'm not going to free you niggas, I can at least tell you you need to be suspicious of me and every other white person on this plantation. It's not free niggas.
Absolutely true. I really, really agree with the Tim Wise, just the Tim Wise connection. I absolutely saw that in just how he would be able to openly practice racism. He has everyone, especially specific non-white people that he's given gifts to, or there's a scene where a black female is like you said, was being on the other side of being raped and everything, and he was just like, help me with my boots off after she was like, oh, you're a strange kind of white man that cares about a bed wench. And it just made me think, what's going through people's heads when going through non-white people's heads, black people's heads, when Tim Wise is in front of a church and speaking, and like, oh, it's a strange, this is a strange kind of white man, huge, and then meanwhile, pay me $6,000 and give me some security from these beast niggers, So that's how he's able to do it at the same time, and it's fun. It's fun, and he's definitely with Hammond, definitely that type of slave master, that type of racist.
Agreed.
And it's just seeing the. Well, I guess I'll ask you, how do you just his affinity for in his relation to white females, and his affinity for black females instead of white females, in that being a central theme in the film. What did you think of that? And how do you see how do you see that as a main part of his character of being deceiving?
I think he was in constant conflict with his white female, alleged a wife. He says wife, I say cousin.
It's his cousin.
Wife was his cousin.
Sexual deviant. Gotta stay white, though. Gotta stay white.
Sexual deviant. And they were just in constant conflict the whole time. I felt as if, and this is not to highlight her as a figure of sympathy, because in my opinion, she was the most dangerous racist on the whole plantation. But you can clearly see, believe Dr. Africa and other people have stated how white males, it's that caveman mentality, where they do anything to their women, whether it's their relative or whether it's their wife or both. And so he slept in a separate room than her, or if he wasn't sleeping in that separate bedroom, he was with his black concubine. Really showed his black concubine a lot more attention than his white wife, pretty much the entire film. And just left them at odds with each other for the entire duration of the film.
Just a tidbit of how degrading and just raw Mandingo is. Definitely get that out there and see of how unrefined the racism is, and just also in the beginning, black female is sick, and she's not feeling well, and they come in. They call him, the veterinarian. Comes in and says, "Oh, well, she's sick. She must be in heat, and in the butt of heat," unquote, like an animal. Lots of bestiality references throughout this film, and definitely dehumanizing black people throughout this entire film. They said that she's just in heat. She's in heat, and the only way to cure her illness is to take her virginity. And I see that they tried to inject a little humor into the film, because it really is a tough watch. But they tried to inject a little humor into the film, where she had to take a bath, saying, "Oh, well, these niggers smell, and you have to be in smell a certain way to attract white man." So when she was taking a bath, and she was like, "What? I have to, smell like this white soap, smell like white people for 3 days," and I see that as grasping at straws throughout this really horrific time period and horrific scene.
Absolutely.
And all the while, don't forget, this film made by white people. I still see Hammond is still, there's still an attempt to show Hammond at times in a sympathetic light as, oh, he's just a nice white guy who's just happens to be a product of his time, instead of this person, instead of oh, he's just he's a nice, good-looking white guy, and he even has marital problems. He can't even keep his wife straight. Just really trying to rope you in with the white identification, even when someone's a slave master.
Oh yeah, I agree. Painting him in that really positive light, I guess, for most of the movie. He's just a nice guy. He doesn't beat his slaves, but he's still a slave master. Like they do everything to highlight. They highlight all of the facts of, I guess. Oh, he wants people to look him in the eye. Blah, blah, blah. But he's still a slave master. He's still a racist, white supremacist.
I also thought it was interesting, just the, right before he was about to, I think this scene, and I don't know if the audio is right for it. But there's a scene, and I don't know if you remember, where one of his bed wenches is asking, lets him know that she is pregnant with his child, his victim, and she asks if she can keep it, and he says, well, I got, you can't because it's for your own good, so you won't get upset when we sell it. And then she's lying on a bed naked, and he's getting undressed to get in bed with her, and right before he gets in bed with her, right after he tells her that he's going to sell her child, before it's even born, he then gets down on his knees and gives his nightly "Now I lay me down to sleep" prayer right before going to bed to rape a black female. And I just definitely I definitely saw the connection to the religion and how religious the system of racism, white supremacy, and the philosophy and the ideology of racism, white supremacy is. And it was throughout many times in the film. People yelling, slavery was ordained by God. That's what Hammond's father said. And then you have that scene. He's about to rape a black female and sell it. Her child later on, and he's bending down and praying, to God, and that's who he calls out to when he's practicing the maximum act of racism. And I just thought that was very, very symbolic throughout in the film.
Praying on her naked body too, just racist, trashy, trifling, terroristic whites.
Let's see. Actually, I think we'll play that scene. Let's see. Well, actually, I'll set up the scene before it. And this is, I guess you want to talk about Hammond. You said that he's a slave master, and they still make sure to show that he's a slave master, but still, they try to show that, he's a sympathetic, a well-meaning racist. And he catches one of the slaves learning how to read. And one of these, it's one of the more powerful characters in the film that we'll get to later, Cicero, speaking, one of the more less confused slaves on the plantation. Definitely, he has a major role in the film, and attempts to teach the slaves how to read. And I think the sequencing of these three scenes is very powerful, because they go into the scene. They're in the slave shack, and before this, they're cutting away from the scene of him about to rape another black female. Lots of rape in this film. It's serious stuff. But here is here's Mandingo when they're in the slave shack, and Hammond comes in and hears them reading. But here is Cicero letting the other slaves know about racism, white supremacy, and that he's less confused.
We'll land here chained while a white man walk about, do his pleasure with a black girl. Perhaps you don't have no feelings at all, like that pecker would say. Feelings like some old dumb animal that don't count no how. Y'all hear me? In Africa, our people are born free. That's right. Free men, not slaves. Masters of our own selves and of the forest and the rivers and the mountains. Y'all think that deep down that Peckerwood don't know we's as human as he is? What for you reckon he keep us from learning and living and reading? 'Cause they know. They's a fear that deep down we is human. Ma'am, you bring that copy out, P? Yeah, I got it. Show these brethren how to read. Oh Lord, our God, other lords beside thee have had dominion over us, but by thee only will we make much mention. Be meaning to speak of. Mention of thy name.
What are you doing here, ma'am? Let me see what you got there. Give it to me, ma'am. Give it to me. Damn. You can read, can't you? And write. Who learned you, ma'am? It was you, huh, Cicero? Damn, get out of here. My papa done well to sell you. Reading, hell, you know what you can get for reading. Go on.
There we go. You got to keep your feet pressed hard on his belly now, so the rheumatiz dreams right out in the soles. All right?
Yes, Doc.
All right. Hammond?
Doc.
Well, good night, all.
I'll do that, please.
You stay cold up there, boy.
Good night, Doc.
Good night.
Night, Doc.
Good night.
Papa, I got to peel men's rum.
What he did?
Well, he just been getting too uppity, y'all.
You protecting him again? What he do now?
Papa, I catch him reading. He can read.
Reading? That dumbass blockhead nigger reading? I don't want to see it. You know what old Sam Jones do with reading niggers? Put out an eye. Cures him good. One eye, not two. Blindness no damn use, but one eye's work as hard. Don't give no more trouble.
Oh, Papa, no, I just whoop him a bit, is all.
Tain't enough.
That's all, Papa. Allow him to do it.
And whoop him fierce. Hammond, you gotta cut deep. 'Cause a nigger don't feel physical punishment soon as a white man. And you rub in the pimentade after. Hurts like hell, but heals the scars right clean. And tell Lucretia Borgia to use fresh red pepper in the pimentade, fresh lemon, and plenty of salt.
Yes, sir. Good night, Pop.
Plenty of salt, I say.
Yes, sir.
Reading. You pray for Memnon tonight, Moss?
Ain't no use me praying for you, seeing as how you can do it for your own self. Mayhap tomorrow, after you've been whooped. Now get.
Yes, sir, Master.
Master, sir.
What you want, Daddy?
Master, I knocked up.
Oh, I've been looking for that.
Master, when my sucker come, can't I keep it?
It's for your own good, Daddy. So's you won't feel bad if we go to sell it. Now I lay me down to sleep. I pray the Lord my soul to keep. If I should die before I wake,
Pray the Lord my soul to take.
Reckless 2.0. Yeah. Thoughts?
The religion racism, white supremacy.
Absolutely.
It is a religion, and I'm not one to disparage people's religious beliefs. So, white supremacy is a religion. It is the religion on the planet.
Agreed. The only religion that really certainly evident and backed up, the dominant religion. We had a hand up, 7012. Your line is open.
Yeah, greetings. Can I be heard?
Yes, you can.
How y'all doing?
Doing pretty well. How are you doing, sir?
Still on it.
Yeah, my fuse is pretty lit after this film. I watched it earlier. This is my first time seeing it, and I just want to agree with what you guys said. The self-degradation, the sexual degeneracy, and the religion aspect. They refer to older black males as bucks, black children as suckers. I wrote a few lines down. I remember in the first scene where it's like where they're in the line or whatnot, and he said he was like, yeah, this buck might have a sucker. He might last 7 or 8 years. Oh no, I think he was talking about the actual buck might last 7 or 8 years. So basically saying this is your lifespan, nigga. Basically, this is your expected lifespan. And I thought the film also might have been trying to confuse non-white people in making it seem as though with some of the rape of the non-white women, as if they gave Hammond some type of consent, being how normalized rape was against non-white females. Yeah. But I got more, but
I definitely agree with them attempting to portray the black females as ones that were consenting, and they were, I believe her mother said that you should feel that prideful because of it, and telling her what to do about it, and and just seeing the black female get emotionally attached, and I just thought that was it was definitely, it could have been out there for confusion purposes, and really some non-white people might view it as a twisted romance story. They may be that confused, which I've heard. And
I'm actually looking through the reviews right now on IMDb. See if I see anybody with that confused or racist position, I guess, depending on the review. But I agree big time. I think, especially because he's earning trinkets from this white man. It just makes it seem like, she might be the object of his affection. And like I said, they do a lot of hyping up to make this white guy seem really not that bad, especially towards the, in the beginning and the middle of the film. So.
Sally Hemings.
Exactly, and he had quite a few Hemings on his plantation, to the point where his father was scolding him for not having sex with a white lady.
Yes, sir.
And said that you need to get a child with human blood.
Another thing, in the sexual deviance, it definitely seemed as though Hammond, he was not into white women at all. I believe Michael Bradley, yeah, you got the book here. He says he attributes white people to sexual dimorphism. In his book, Weisman Inheritance, page 110, in the Chronos Complex, he says, if we have the possibility, given a satisfactory explanation of Caucasoid female happiness, we have not yet offered any reason why Caucasoid men should be so much more hairy than Caucasoid women, nor have we given any reason for the large breast characteristics of Caucasoid women. Perhaps it is time to try this, but it will require a detour into philosophical biology. I believe that when we return to the discussion of our sexual dimorphism, we will have a greater insight into the causes of Caucasoid aggression. And I mean, I think that's very telling of just basically the whole extent of the relationship between Hammond and his cousin, who had sex with her brother also. You see it, and I mean, just through and through the way they treat one another, very manipulative. I mean, look what she does for his attention is sad. So yeah, just sexual dimorphism. From my limited knowledge, I think that's a difference in a sexual difference between interspecies. That's I'm not a scholar on it or anything, but yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I just wanted to read this review real quick because I think this person, he rated the movie a 10 out of 10. But he is practicing racism. It's review. Oh man, it's a long review, so I'll scan through it and get the parts that are really hold on. Okay, so a male Mandingo slave is desirable in many ways, especially for the huge bundle of quote-unquote meat found in their pants. If there is any doubt that white folk are more common to rape and pillage upon black folk, then just read up on what's going on in Africa among its cultures for centuries. The four ring a bell, news reports about soldiers breaking women's legs so they can't run away from rape. Now, it seems like he is practicing racism pretty heavy right here.
Absolutely.
Why is he talking about the four in a movie about white people raping black people? Not to mention that I don't believe that the black people in this area of the world originate from the Sudan. I could be incorrect. I have no idea. I wasn't there when ancestors got stolen. But moving on. I agree with one film reviewer that wrote that Mason must have needed to play the rent when he chose the role. Same for almost everyone in the film. Jack Kirkland wrote filth, and that's what the movie needed to be. My opinion is that Hammond was very convincing in his role. As for sexual activity, he didn't know much better. Interesting. All plantations had slaves with different degrees of blackness. After all, the quote-unquote house servants were a more refined breed. True, it was illegal to educate blacks. Can you really believe that all slave owners stuck to that law? Bull. The scenes in Mandingo in which supposed to take place in New Orleans could have been much wider in description. Octoroons.
What?
A very low degree of blackness were present in every prominent family in that city simply because they were beautiful and usually accepted as general society. As deplorable as the sexual activity is in this film, it's practiced by every country in the world because humans are humans.
That if I had a checklist, that would humans are humans. Really?
Degradation is a human trait. Is what.
Wow.
Would it be more accurate to replace human with white, since white means human because to them we're subhuman, non-people?
Oh yeah, I agree with that.
Degradation is a white trait. All right, then there's nothing incorrect about that statement.
Yeah.
Describe. Oh no, go ahead.
No, I was gonna say the mammy was off the chain. Of course. Super complimentary towards him. And I like how they gave Hammond a little limp to make you feel empathy for his ass. I mean,
yes.
Like,
of course.
I don't, and basically he bought his cousin, right? Because he paid his uncle. Yeah, he bought her hand in marriage. He bought his cousin's hand in marriage. I mean, I think this is just very telling about incest. Read the Iceman Inheritance. Going back to that, caveman culture.
Absolutely.
I mean, it was free for all, and I think for any white person or non-white person to deny that that amount of rape was most likely taking place, I think they're not really embracing truth. As Mr. Fuller says, or somebody, I think it's Mr. Fuller. He says, in the identifying racist clip, when he's talking to a white person and they ask, or he says, I think why would I think you're practicing racism? Because you can, you can do that. So you do it because you can. So in other words, they rape them because they can. Look at the mentality of these people towards themselves being completely raped and brutalized. As I was watching the film, I would say things like, well, man, if that was me, I wouldn't have let it. And then I was like, well, hold up. I would be completely brain trashed if that was me back then. I'm in Louisiana, so that hit home, seeing seeing the French Quarter and whatnot. I'm like, wow. I mean, these are these people's ancestors. You are your ancestors. So yeah, man, we got, I don't know. But it's in the past. It's in the past. So, you got to leave it in the past.
You were never a slave, so, get over it.
Oh. No chain around my arm.
Yeah, that's what I heard today on Facebook. I had a white person apologize to me for what her supposed or maybe ancestors did, and I said, I don't need you to apologize to me for something you didn't do. I need you and other white people to stop practicing, racism, white supremacy. Stop trying to confuse us. Just leave us the hell alone,
Yep, you could solve this problem right now, bury the hatchet, and go our separate ways. But white people choose not to do that. So.
I definitely saw the that caveman relation between racist woman and racist man in this film. Just every time they spoke about sex and oh, you can't even you can't even get naked in front of in front of a white lady and things of that nature. And then towards the end, saying that she's just so abused and therefore she's jealous of the black female, and she had incest. She had she was involved in incest, and therefore he thought she was tainted. And it's just it seemed like white people being showing the symbolism of what's going on with them. Of course, white people's problems. Who gives a shit what happens to her or him? But I did see it as a spotlight into how how they relate to not only with us, but with within each other. He's treating her like garbage because he essentially knew from the jump that she had sex with her brother, and he knew this, and therefore he was. That's why he was mistreating her throughout the film in some ways. And seeing that, it did make me think, exactly to the Iceman inheritance and what happened, and what the caveman culture was like for white women, and it just seems like it was symbolic, and that's what it's like them saying, well, this is why I'm treating you like this because you're like that, and I definitely thought it was significant in this film. I guess we can't talk about racist man and all about Hammond without bringing up a racist woman who as you stated earlier, D-Trade, the most dangerous person in this film. The most racist and the most dangerous. Well, not the most racist, because there's if you're racist, you're racist, but certainly ultimately had the most power to do the most destruction on that plantation in this film, and it certainly happened.
I agree. She was the most sadistic person in the film. Just despicable, the way she conducted herself. And this is why I say non-white people, you gotta be on watch for this white woman.
By the way, please go ahead. Sorry.
I was going to say, if all else fails, if you don't remember this movie, just remember the scene in front of Central High School in Arkansas. Yeah, where they had to call in the National Guard and had to call in. Actually, they had to send in military to deal with racist women. So.
This is true. Don't forget her name is Blanche. Blanche means white. And I think that's and I thought actually of all of their names, as a side note, all of their names in the film were very significant, even with Hammond, the Curse of Ham, and his affinity for black flesh.
And they said he looked like his uncle Theophilus, which is also in the Bible.
We also had Mandingo himself, Meade. He was named after Ganymede, who was roughly speaking, the story goes from Greek mythology that he was abducted by Zeus from his homeland for being the best looking and a human specimen, and therefore used to do the God's bidding, and was also a. Oh, did we lose E-Train? We got him. We're gonna get him back. Hello?
Yep.
Oh, sorry. Could you hear me before?
No. You said we're gonna pick D back up and you cut out.
Oh, sorry about that. Attempting to get D back on. We dropped him, and but he called back in, so Skype him in. Just add him to the call.
I didn't know that about the Greek.
Yeah.
Greek.
And yes, and with Ganymede, he was also his victim of pedophilia. A pederasty, just the older male in Greek in Greek culture, taking the young 12-year-old under his wing, and raping him. And that was part of what the gods were doing with, this specimen, Ganymede, and therefore his name was Mede. So there's a lot that goes into this film. Why people aren't being, no pun intended, aren't being reckless about it, but they are, they're going hard. Especially if this is a movie about slavery. One of their, to them, one of their biggest accomplishments. One of the biggest trophies on the white supremacy rack, slave trade. And therefore that time period is always, I wish I was in Dixie, and, you hear a lot, a lot of, and it's not all white people, but a lot of white people just cherish that time. And they're gonna take care of their baby when they do a film like this. So they're gonna have a lot of symbolism in it.
Yes, sir.
Oh, D-Train. Hold up. All right, D. Hello?
Yep.
Can I be heard? Okay, D-Train should be here. Calling him again. I actually got disconnected from the show line myself.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Always happens. Technical difficulties. Let's see what we got here. Now, while I work on that, I guess I would ask you. I guess I will just keep. I'll ask you about Blanche. And did you think, in comparison with Hammond, that she was even though they showed Hammond in a sympathetic light, they gave him the limp. They even showed the grandfather with in a sympathetic life, draining the rheumatiz. He had arthritis. But continue. Do you think that Blanche or Hammond was shown in a more sympathetic, quote unquote, light in this film?
Yeah, I do, because I don't think she was, but it might seem that way. Hello?
Oh yes, I'm here.
Oh, okay. Yeah, other than the scene where she knowingly pretty much almost kills the pregnant black slave female. So black female slave.
D-Train, turn on your mic.
All right, sorry.
Get in that echo. Okay. We're good now.
Yeah, other than that scene, I think they pretty much tried to portray her as a victim of Hammond's aggression and neglect as well. But I think she was definitely the most conniving, just the worst. That just what she did, that did it for me.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, she basically set it off, so to speak. So, and she had the power to do that. And yeah, Meade was like, I just felt for him in that scene, and I thought throughout the whole film, it was his coming into, like you said at the end, I thought you was a good white man, a good white, not like the rest of the white people, bam, in the chest. I thought you was a good white person. Really, with the apathy they try to, with the limp, and also whenever he doesn't whip or I don't know, spank, halfway sodomize what's his name, the house guy. Forget his name. Well, yeah. Anyway, whenever he makes the other slave do it. It's like, oh, he doesn't want to whip his slave. He's a nice slave master. He doesn't want to. But no, he makes the other slave whip him. The psychological implications of that, I think, are far more worse than if he would have carried out the act himself. I think it psychologically damages, and I think that was highly evident throughout the film in how, especially the non-white males would interact. It was pretty much like a divided consciousness. I think that the male who was learning how to read, and he was also becoming, more conscious, but yet he still had that, quote unquote house Negro mentality, and that was divided in his dialogue with Meade, the main character, Ken Norton. So that's what I think. But yeah, that white female, she got it, So, but it's just like wow, because she did create that whole, and that's what they do. That's what white females do. They, behind the scenes, under the sheets, cowbell, they create, an environment in the outside and the inside of non-white people, of both the outside reality and the internal mental functioning, so to speak, of non-white people. And I know this from experience. So, of course, my experience is limited to me, but I could be way incorrect. But from everything I've experienced, that's what I've seen. So yeah.
Absolutely true. Absolutely true. And Blanche is definitely, the, no pun intended, the master of creating that environment. And she was a person who was, again, bought, and she still was, had that dominating influence, even though from the outside it may not look like that. It looks like she's being mistreated by her by her husband and everything like that, but that is not the case. She is well in control of what's going on. And I really, I couldn't watch this film and look at Blanche and look at her character and the things she did without thinking of the feminist movement and how white females acted during that. And I just saw, especially when they were arguing, and given the time of the film, 1975, and just how they were arguing, and how she was like, oh well, fine, well I'm going to be able to, do the same thing that you're doing and go have sex with my black buck, and tell him what to do, since you want to be such a smart ass and do this and that and treat your bed wench better than me. Then I'll do this, to keep you to keep it in line. So you really do see, even when there's bickering back and forth between the, racist man and racist woman, it's about practicing racism. It's about, I can't, you don't let me practice racism enough, and you're not giving me a big enough slice, to keep this thing going. And and you see that even with what entire white countries and white nations. Quote unquote white nations, having wars and slaughtering millions of each other just to practice racism. This is the whole game for them. I just thought, I guess I'll play a scene, the scene from Mandingo, and I'll just set it up before, and I guess before we go to the scene, we could talk about what happened to I believe, was it Big Pearl, and Big Pearl is the slave that the Bedouin black female of Hammond, the one that he is essentially Tim Wising it up with. Essentially, giving the false pretense that he gives a shit and that he's sympathetic to in her situation, that he's doing the correct things and counter slavery, attempting to has her all confused in this film, gets her pregnant, and Blanche, racist white female, takes out her whip. Her personal little, female, petite whip, probably was a present, and proceeds to beat the black female. Says, "I'm going to whip that sucker right out of you." And when she's beating her, she's calling her all sorts of names, and all of these names are just dehumanizing, calling whore, a baboon, a beast. Really, harping on that she's just nothing, that, and this is the second time in a film where she referenced non-white people, specifically black females, as beasts or monkeys. She said to Hammond, "You'd rather have sex with a baboon than me."
Mhm. Yep.
And so she's beating her, and then proceeds to push her down the stairs, so she doesn't have her child anymore. Definitely, throwback Margaret Sanger, just really mistreating her and really showing just the vicious nature of racism, white supremacy, pushing her down the stairs and getting rid of the offspring that was produced by her husband Hammond. And that was step number one, with white female showing her dominance, and had her whip, just the fact that there were whips specially tailored for females shows that they weren't being oppressed. So that's I just really see that as a big contradiction with these so-called white females talking about with patriarchy and you're not treating us right and things of that that nature when they had whips to beat people.
Yep. Yes. I was gonna say other people, probably white people or confused non-white people would watch this film and they might also think of a type of patriarchy. I mean, I did, which is why I'm saying it. But you understand what it is by the end of the film. If you're watching it with your right eye.
Mhm.
Is D back or?
Yes, sir. I'm trying to figure out issues with my mic. Am I still echoing?
No, you're good. You're good now.
Okay, excellent. Patriarchy.
I think, and I really do think that it's something that that would come up with this film. With people saying, "Oh, the patriarchy," and she's being mistreated.
I'm in the reviews.
Really?
Yeah, and like the film or the movie, I think the film does revolve around a lot of conflict between racist man and woman. Like the code referred to the Iceman inheritance, but I don't think patriarchy is the word for it. And I think this is just blatant racism. And like I said, this white woman is the most dangerous person in the entire film. She's responsible for 2 racists dying, including herself. And
yay.
And a victim. And presumably another victim dying after he shoots one of the racists. So. And not to mention a baby. So. Clearly the most dangerous.
Absolutely. Please say it ain't black. Famous lines from the film. Please say it ain't black.
2 babies. She killed 2 infants because one was.
That's right. That's right.
Yep.
Non-white with a white parent. Do y'all remember the auction block scene?
Oh man. Yes.
The reason he bought Ken Norton's character was so that the German lady didn't have sex with him. Is that correct?
He wanted a fighting slave, but I think that I think that he himself, since he's very and this was a theme throughout the now that you mentioned it, this was a theme throughout the film. He was very traditionally he seemed like a traditional he had a different tradition of or different understanding of how to practice white supremacy, different from the other people who were practicing white supremacy. So therefore he was like, well, what are you doing kissing them on the mouth? Or why are you having, is he really going to have sex with that white lady? Definitely wasn't accustomed to that happening. So definitely I remember him just being taken back when he found that out. But I never actually put it together that maybe he could have been doing that just to prevent that from happening, because that was definitely about to go down.
Yeah, because it looked like he asked the other male about it, and the other male says, I didn't understand the dialect, but he said something like, German women, something that German women are dirty like that or something.
He said they can't get enough of niggers or something like of that nature.
Yeah, And she grabbed his I mean, like, oh, let me test this HD TV out, you know.
in broad daylight, and it was in broad daylight on the auction block. Had his hands on his hips, and she just pulls it, you know, just grabs it. You know, which, certainly I thought it was definitely a telling scene, and you know, she was, you know, the German widower, and just thinking of how many racists from that area of the world, how they practice racism, white supremacy, or their reputation on their stiffness with racism and white supremacy. I just thought that was very telling, you know, especially with, you know, German chocolate and what they've done in Africa, and Afri-Cola, which is a German soda that's has you know, it's Afri-Cola and it's black and has a tropical a tropical label to it and everything. It's definitely interesting, I thought.
While I was gone, did we talk about the scene, I guess the first scene where his wife's brother is shown, his cousin, and they're with the two black females, and...
No, we didn't talk about that scene. Definitely one of the rawest scenes in the film.
Yeah,
another word. Over and over.
Like,
this was hard to watch.
Yeah, like, what a rape. I mean, he's in this room, you know, trying to spit game, almost, it appears to be. Like, he can't just take it from this black female anyway. And he's, like, talking to her, and he's like, oh, well, look me in the eye. And, oh, well, you seem to have sympathy for us black wenches. But this other female is in the other room getting brutalized by his cousin, and he does nothing. And I'm just like, man, oh, man.
And she cries and is thankful to even look him in the eyes. And then you go on the Griot, and there's an article saying, get yourself a white man to feel better.
So they can take that belt off? It's just...
Because what was his reason for, and just to let you know, these people, these young black females were, I believe, 12 and 13. One was a virgin, one wasn't, and he said, well, I don't want any, I don't like that hard work, so therefore I'll take the one that isn't a virgin. And then, you know, when everybody is in a room, couldn't wait, strips her naked and throws her on a bed and starts, like G-Chain said, just, striking her. And it upsets, apparently that's not the way that Hammond likes to practice his racism, you know.
This was fucking incredible. Racist.
Yeah, it's not. He's like, well, it's, what are you doing kissing on the mouth? Well, I mean, if you're going to brutalize her, you're talking about kissing on the mouth, like, it's just, it's very, very, very interesting and just sickening, too. Man, I definitely that scene is just when I first saw it, definitely wasn't the easiest to watch, and definitely wasn't the easiest to watch.
Not at all. Not at all.
By the way, if you would like to call in, the number is 917-889-2965. 917-889-2965. I guess I'll go into the scene where Blanche calls in Mandingo, Meade, and proceeds to go on and rape him. Yes, this is Mandingo. And he called him in, and Mim, the house servant, was just on the side, trying to tell him, like, don't do it, don't, when he was going in, and just wasn't listening to his boy, and got caught out there. Because once that door closed behind him, it was done. But here's
he's entered the dragon's den. Don't turn him back.
Which is in there to fend for himself. But yes, here's the scene from Mandingo.
I want you to listen, because I'm going to tell you a story. I want you to listen good. Sit down over there. Do you hear me? Sit down. Good. See? One day, I was walking alone in the woods. I was just walking nice by myself. And then, you came up to me. You were in a sweet light, real sweet light. And all of a sudden, you attacked me.
Miss Blanche, I never
Hush
done...
your mouth. This is my story. You attacked me. You raped me. Now, when Master Hammond comes home, well, I gotta tell him what you done. What you think he gonna do? Whoop you? Sell you? Oh, no, maid. He's gonna kill you.
He won't believe you, Miss Blanche.
He'll believe me. He won't believe a nigger. So now, listen, you do what I want. I'm gonna tell him. I'm gonna tell him everything. Just like I said. Everything. Mead, ain't you ever craved a white lady before?
And then it gets tragic.
I'm going to tell you, I cringed on that entire scene. Yeah.
It just shows the deception and the trap and the manipulation, the raping, again, the raping black beast coming in and, essentially using that, white females using that sex as, one of their monstrous bargaining chips, that sexual manipulation. And again, I really see, the time period of this film, the time period of the the feminist movement, just her trying to say, oh, well, I'm independent and I'm going to practice racism too, and I see that throughout her film, throughout this film with Blanche, like her trying to step up.
I agree wholeheartedly. This is just a really tough scene to talk about. If you don't understand what Mr. Fuller means by maximum racist aggression, I think this is the clearest picture you can. I think this is the clearest picture you can get of maximum racist aggression.
Absolutely. Of course, I would also like to point out that there is a pornography porn star named Mandingo, and he's essentially one of the more popular black male adult film stars, and I just think that's very interesting that is the Mandingo fantasy. I get to have this black male at my whim, or else something incorrect is going to happen to him. So he has to submit to me. So they aren't submitting. I guess it goes back to what the father was saying, that it saves the white female from submitting to them by having the bed wench, and it saves her from submitting to anybody else, because to a black male, because she's just a child in her hands.
To this day.
To this day, this absolutely still happens.
I think this could have been the single most devious and evil act of sexual activity I've ever seen in any film, and
the only full on sex scene in the entire film. Excuse me, the only full on rape scene in the entire film. Because that was definitely, that was essentially spelled out for you. Wasn't even, they weren't even attempting to dress it up or use deception. They were just saying this is how it was. And when white people are being that overt and that attemptedly honest, it's up to we can't. At that point, it's just denial if you aren't able to grasp what they're saying. If they're saying it directly to you like that this was rape, and the black, of course, the black male, it's very, 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 very interesting.
Should have been the name of the film.
Blackmail?
Rape.
White sexual deviance, I think, would be a better title.
I personally think that since they started it off with the somebody's sex, so they're like, oh, the best cure for them is just getting a penis in you. That's getting raped. That's your cure. That's what I think is I think that's definitely it's a contender in there too. It's definitely could be many titles for this film. Sexual deviance, definitely, with the high levels of incest in this film. But again, it made me think, well, these people were whiteness is is a virtue, and these people are trying to stay white, and that's why it's possible, especially in a context where not being white will, be almost guaranteed that you're, either going to be that you're going to be severely mistreated, and not just unconsciously or indirectly mistreated if white people allow it. But this was just it was just a higher percentage or a higher chance of you being mistreated for being non-white. Being white was definitely the priority. So if you had to intermingle, then that just had to happen, and certainly just keep your family line white, and that was also part of the film. In fact, wasn't there a scene, if you guys remember, a scene where the father of Hammond locked them in the room and said, "You guys are going to have sex. Nobody's leaving this room until somebody has sex because I want a grandson."
White genetic annihilation.
This is just obligation. I don't even want you. I want to rape myself a nigger, and I'm just doing this to
preserve my race.
So I can preserve what the privilege is that I'm having right now to rape that nigger 10 minutes from now.
Mm-hmm.
It's like paying your dues for your own privilege. And it was pretty awkward.
You're my son, you're my niece, get it on. Regimen. Keep it in the family. I thought, oh, I'm sorry.
Oh, no, please go ahead.
Oh, no, I was just going to change to the religion aspect so you can make your point.
Oh, no, go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say, with religion, I mean, I think this film just hits on pretty much every point of confusion with non-white people, sex, religion, war. I mean, just everything with religion. That's what I keep forgetting his name. That's what the guy was learning how to read.
Mim?
Yeah, Mim. I think it was from the Bible. But then in one of the the second or third scene, they're sitting at the table, and I think that they have a guest, Hammond and his father, and the guest asks him, "You got religion for your niggas?" And then Hammond's dad replies, "No. The more religious they get, the more normal they get, quote unquote. In other words, the more white they get or white identified. That's what I equate that to. And we don't want them, white identified because if they think like us, then maybe they'll think, they can beat us, and then maybe they'll think we're equal, So keep them dumb, keep them illiterate, keep them fighting amongst each other over which one gets the, better slavery or whatever. But then Hammond dad turns to Mim and because he asked him about, well, don't you worry about their immortal souls? And then the guy's like, niggas don't have. So he turns to Mim and asks him, and Mim says, I'm a lazy. This is the actual quote. I'm a lazy, no count, stupid, godforsaken nigga like me. Can't have a soul. I mean,
everybody at the table starts busting out laughing.
Yeah. Including him. Yeah. Self-degradation to the fullest. Like, I don't have a soul. You have taken me and reduced me to a state where I, as an individual, can think or at least express that I don't have a soul. Even if I don't mean that, just admitting that, I think, wow. I mean, it's slavery. So, I mean, it's slavery.
Mm-mm-mm.
Religion is slavery. Religion is slavery.
It is. And a very severe section of it.
Because if they had souls, I don't think they would do no shit like that. I mean...
Oh, lots of projection. Just tons of projection. Do you reckon you have a soul? You know, and they were saying slavery was ordained by God, I believe, right before he asked Mim that. He was saying that it's, you know, slavery was ordained by God, you know, and it's God's will. You know, and then when they learned, you know, when you like you said, well, when they learned how to read, it was a Bible verse. And even Cicero, he was saying, well, why do you think they're keeping us away from religion? You know, it's just, you know, so therefore, you know, he's saying that that's something to aspire to read, you know, the Bible and everything. I just think it was just very, just showed the sad state that we were in, and still, you know, that in the remnants of that, and just how it's still alive. Man, that religion. What happened?
Sound like someone's driving.
Yeah. Oh, I see. Yeah, somebody's. Yeah, it's wild outside. It's a Friday night, and you know, people have Monday off.
A lot of non-constructive activity, I'm guessing.
Oh yes, and certainly a heavily. Yeah, it's definitely an area where non-constructive activity is rampant. So yeah, it's the way it is in system of white supremacy, though. I'm trying to think of more just more of the religious aspects of the film, because it was definitely littered throughout.
I think just the contradiction of you know, we're holier than thou, but yet we're raping you.
Absolutely.
Now I lay me down to sleep right before I rape you. I mean, projection. That's just a contradiction. To be really, I mean, but again, the mind trashing. You know, these people are doing this to us, yet we want to, you know, worship their God, who obviously favors them a lot more than he favors us. I mean,
it's true. It's absolutely.
Yeah, that's all I.
Just to add on to the projection, the incest that was going on, there was a point in time where I believe they were talking about breeding out Mandingo on this, you know, because he's a prize slave, breed him out on the plantation, just with a bunch of different slaves, and I believe it said that they said, well, that will be incest. What if their baby turns, you know, grows up into be a monster or something? They're like, oh, well, incest is fine for animals, so therefore it's fine for niggers, you know. But at the same time, you're hooking up your son with, you know, your niece, who, you know, had sex with her brother.
You're paying for your son and niece to hook up. You know.
Oh yeah, and I just thought it was just interesting. He was telling them to go. He's like, "Oh, just go over there and, you know, take your cousin. You know, we can go around and look for other white ladies, but take a look at her. Now, I know we've been speaking about the white people a lot about this film because the problem is white people. They're the problem. Of course, they should be, spoken about the most and the most analyzed because they're the core of the issue. But I guess we can talk about Mead a little bit more about Mead. As we said before, Ganymede, and he's a quote unquote pure Mandingo. Purebred Mandingo, and he really. I tried to. How many lines did he have in a film?
Maybe 20, if that.
Maybe, and it's just seeing the confusion. I just thought it was just seeing the confusion with Mead and how he interacted, and really how all the black people, all the slaves, interacted with each other was really evident of the confusion and the different mindsets and different levels of confusion from the victims. Which is interesting to see how it was, during his time, or how it would be during this time and during this type of system. And you have the slave catcher. You have as D-Train and I referenced DHS. Running after Cicero, and me just really being just that subservient, and a lot more physically capable than Hammond, but still having to be subservient to the scrawny white guy. It was just really showing the degradation, having to boil him to make his skin tougher for fights, and they were really I guess I really saw a lot of it in the training scenes for his UFC fight. Essentially, it definitely always makes me gives me a second or third or fourth or fifth look at UFC and boxing, and it just shows the parallel and
life.
Yeah, and where it first came from, and it's just seeing that it did training scenes and wrestling wrestling on a constant basis outside in the dirt, and chopping down trees just to work out for this fight. And I just saw that there was a scene where they go to I believe a burlesque house in New Orleans, and he comes in and he's just sitting there waiting for Hammond to come out, and another slave who worked at the burlesque house, the big buck, impaling everybody, all the white females in there, came out and said, who are you? Well, there's no niggers allowed here. And he's like, well, you're a nigger, and he's like, well, and then they start going back and forth, and then this is where the conflict starts. So they start fighting, and this bull slave and this Mead, they fight, and the white people are about to stop it. They're like, oh, break it up or I'll beat you to death. And then all of a sudden, there's just a white male who yells out, $1,000 to the owner of this slave, to the slave that wins. So then it becomes, a brawl, and it definitely, made me think of just sports in general, and just with conflict and with being able to profit off of conflict between non-white people that's caused by white people, and instead of going after the people who are causing the problem, like genocides and throughout Africa, it's actually being set up by white. It's actually being set up by white people. They're just fighting each other and not really paying attention to who's really causing all this and profiting off of it.
so stuck in their victimhood they can't open their eyes and, you know, get rid of that tunnel vision. Step back and look at the bigger picture. You know, why are we fighting each other? I stepped on your plantation, but it's not really your plantation, right? Whose plantation is it? That's who we should have the problem with, not each other.
It's a sport enjoyed by all, as Fuller said.
Mm-hmm.
And I guess
black culture.
It is. It's snitch. You know, the Stop Snitching campaign. Yeah, you know, you can say about how non-constructively it's been characterized, or how poorly it's been executed, and things of that nature. But snitching is in telling on for personal gain. You know, going to the white supremacists for nothing but personal gain is completely incorrect. And furthers strengthens the system of racism, white supremacy. And I think that the pinnacle of this is, or what really, really shows this with Meade and his level of confusion, and really somebody who the slave who's less confused, Cicero. One of the most famous scenes in this film, I think, it's certainly one of the most famous ones on YouTube. The scene where Cicero has had enough of the nonsense and kills about 5 white people, and he and a bunch of other slaves, they just attempt to escape and running away from white people, and therefore they're trying to catch Cicero. Cicero's cuts into the woods. He tries to be out, and Ken Norton, Meade, is sent after him by the white supremacists. He gets off the horse, and he is to go and run and catch him. So this is Meade catching Cicero, from my estimation, is a less confused slave.
let her know. This is just as much our land as it is yours. And after you hang me, kiss my ass.
Reckless 2.0.
He was accurate, very accurate. And just reading, I mean, knowing how to read, you know. He got all that knowledge about, you know, how racist were serfs in Europe. And, you know.
This is true. If you're going to go out, you got to go out like Cicero. Let him know.
Read.
I just thought that scene and just the look on Mead's face when that happened, and that if you want to talk about confused looks, definitely he was portraying the look of confusion, even when he was like, you know, you killed me, and it wasn't registering to him, you know, that, you know, he was, doing his master's bidding and really strengthening system white supremacy and adding into his own degradation. And I really do like, what I do like about that scene is that he didn't, you know, completely, you know, just exclusively fixate on Meade. He realized, towards the end, he made sure that his last words were addressed to the racist white supremacists, the people who are most responsible, the most to blame for his hanging. Although he did let the confused victim know that he's implicated in. He ultimately still addressed the people, and primarily addressed the people who are most to blame.
You know, I found it funny in that scene because it seemed like these racists were like intently listening, and then all of a sudden, they're just like, "Well, just hang this nigga." Like,
yeah, that's how you know it was. I mean, a movie, because I don't think they would have gave a soon-to-be lynched victim time to make a soliloquy. You know, but I could be incorrect. And people would be like, if a person would say something like, I mean, could you imagine a confused victim saying, "Well, that's just a movie. That's not how it was"? Could y'all imagine a victim that confused? Because they're taking they're taking it out of education. So.
Oh, I think there have been people who just said, "Oh, well, I do believe that this could be exploitation of black people in this film." But I think there have been people that I've heard that said on the record, "This is just an exploitation film, and it couldn't have been this bad."
I honestly don't get why they're calling this a black exploitation. Well, of course it is a black exploitation film because it's exploiting black people, literally. But putting it in that genre of just cheesy racist films from the 70s, of that type of being that type of film, no. Now the film that it was packaged with, Boss Nigger, absolutely 100%. It definitely fits into that categorization of film.
Starring Rick Ross. Victims.
Yes, Victims.
Yeah, you actually showed me the trailer for Boss Nigger.
Boss Nigger. I definitely have to see Boss Nigger. It's just from the trailer, as was pointed out by the caller, cowbells already. It's just not even. You're not even going to have to look for it. It's already. Just check that off. Oh, cowbells. It's already white female. You know.
Just the contradiction in terms. Boss Nigger.
And just
Just think of people practicing racism right there.
Like, it just sounds so. It's the quote unquote oxymoron. It's the oxymoron where it just sounds so like what? And really, even the film is like that. It's $20. It's $20 or 2 days in jail for calling a black man a nigger. Just just not what's going on in reality. And yes, this film was a double feature with Mandingo, which I think is interesting. Black degradation, then it's we'll compensate, and we'll have a black the best black superhero we can give you is this. This is compensation for just Mandingo's complete just domination of non-white people. We'll show you some goofy film of a black cowboy spoof, so you'll feel better afterwards. I also wanted to ask about the ending scene in Mandingo. And it's definitely a scene I hear a lot of people talk. A lot of people who saw it when it first came out. Is just the ending scene with the boiling pot. Essentially, they find out that Blanche impregnates. Mead impregnates Blanche. They have offspring, and it's essentially hidden from Hammond and the rest of the people on the plantation until literally they actually see the baby is black. And D-Train actually mentioned that, found it interesting that they were just classifying the baby as soon as it came out.
No ifs, ands, or buts.
Oh, but now it's like, oh, well, this that if they fast forward now, to modern day Mandingo, they just be like, oh, well, that's not a black baby, that's multicultural. Oh, that's a biracial baby. Oh, that's a mulatto baby. Shut the fuck up. It's not. Excuse me, my, that's uncodified, but, that's certainly the case. Certainly, that's definitely a code and code strategy, from racist white supremacists. And but definitely there was no ambiguity about that. There was even I believe there was a part in the movie where they just called them prime skin, the prime skin black females that Hammond likes. Like, oh, he only likes the prime skin ones, but we think Big Pearl would be good for him. So that was indicating, well, he usually likes light skin black females, but usually or he says usually likes ones that aren't aren't purebred ones that was mentioned, and they were just suggesting that he should get himself a full-bred beast to rape, aka a bedwench. Oh yeah, but yes, this ending scene, they essentially have him in front of they make Mead build a fire under a giant cauldron, huge pot, boiling water, and he tells him to get in, and pointing a gun at him, Dr. Welsing, pointing a gun at him and just telling him to get in, and it's supposed to be the big dramatic moment of the film that he actually said no to a white man. And I just thought that was I definitely think, as D-Train, you said earlier about him saying well, I thought you were somehow better than a white man. And like him saying that, I'm just thinking like, what exactly did he do to make him think that he was somehow better than a white man? Just was, interesting to me. But just, the fact that he said this after he got, after he shot him in his shoulder, and he was like, oh, I thought you were better than that. He was already pointing a gun at you, and he already knew. And I don't know. I just thought it was just very, 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 interesting. And interesting that Hammond also killed killed Blanche and poisoned her after she had Mead's offspring.
And she was soiled.
I know, doubly soiled. As she was already hanging by a thread, with her brother, and just put it over the edge.
Yeah. Just boil his own water, so to speak.
Mhm.
I remember when I was young and I misbehaved. My mom was saying, go get the switch. Like go get your own weapon, tool of punishment.
And not the small one.
Oh yeah, we find the smallest ones, no thorn. Made sure they didn't have no thorn. But just the parent relationship. I'm gonna mistreat you. Just the same when he walks in Blanche's room. Like what you're walking into. I mean, man, can't do anything, like powerless, just powerless. And but the very end was pretty symbolic. He only shoots the older races, and as to indicate, the next generation, is still gonna flourish. And then they also left the guy who shot him alive, so.
Mhm.
Still better be running because we're still gonna be on your back. It continues. That's how they leave you.
Absolutely. Definitely of significance that they left Hammond alive, who was the more active and arguably, the more powerful racist of the two, or will be, and
he's gonna go even more ham, so to speak, now. Look what he did to to Ken Norton's character.
Absolutely. Apparently, and there's 3 books on this, and apparently after he boiled him, he poured the remains of Mead onto Blanche's grave. The Mead soup, the nigger soup.
So
and
great.
honestly, I have absolutely no evidence for this. It's just speculation. I'm sure that during slavery, and from watching Mandingo, it just made me think, well, were they eating black people? Like, did this go through? Did this happen? This had to happen. 400 years, millions of slaves, had to happen.
I've heard somewhere, and I think I've came across something different on the internet saying in New Orleans that they did. They practice cannibalism in their history. Give me a second, I'll find the documentation from white people. But yeah, hold on.
I'm not surprised because it's just part of the pattern. It's just like, well, you just want to consume this blackness. You either want to, be inside it or have it inside you, or through your genitalia or whatever, or you just you're just going to eat it, or just something like that. Like that's how fixated or how crazy, how racist racism, white supremacy makes white people, and I definitely just see that as a logical thing. If they're doing alligator bait, if they're already selling it for dead Native Americans for for dog food, or Native American babies for dog food, it's just like, well, why not do it yourself if you're so obsessed. Very interesting. Oh yeah, indeed. Of course, the slave fight, just the animalistic behavior that they promoted. They promoted in this fight. They told Meade and Topan, I believe the guy's name was, from this was the slave from Jamaica. They had to fight to the death, and just for white people's amusement. And I just thought, that was definitely a huge act of, racism, white supremacy. Just for, for their enjoyment, they love seeing, black people, non-white people hack each other up. It's just throughout the entire film, it was black people, doing the bidding of their masters, and then they were doing, they were carrying out a lot of the physical mistreatment that was ordered by their master. And just see how much it translates into today with a lot of non-white people.
Oh, I agree. I think violence is very entertaining to racist white supremacists. They even enjoy seeing, I guess, their own fight. So, of course, seeing non-white people, they're going to get a kick out of that. And seeing non-white people die, especially. Yeah.
So, I don't know. Is there anything else from this film? I mean, I know there's just the fact that there's no stone left unturned in this film with white supremacy. It's just every aspect of it is racist. It's blatantly racist. Well, actually, D-Train, I wanted to ask in the caller, I wanted to ask if you have seen Roots or any other films on slavery. How does Mandingo compare in your I guess estimation?
I think Mandingo and
say Roots.
I think Mandingo is like above Roots in the level of displayed racism. And along the levels of Goodbye, Uncle Tom. I think that's what it would be comparable to. I think it's worse than that movie, actually.
Yeah, I would definitely agree with that. Definitely. I haven't seen Roots for a while, but from what I remember, I don't think it even compares. I mean, just the rape alone.
I definitely agree. I do think that the point that Roots did I guess they didn't have time to really get into the nitty gritty, and it was going to be on TV. Excuses to excuses, but it just ultimately it doesn't definitely, I think seeing Mandingo will definitely give you a very, very vivid view of how racism and white supremacy worked and how it still works today under the surface, beyond the refinement, and really getting the demeanor and I guess mindsets of white people that they still carry out till today. Their sexual customs, their divide and conquer tactics, how they relate to each other in terms of sex, just things of that nature. I definitely think it was more in depth than that, and I definitely think that it in terms of Goodbye Uncle Tom, it definitely was, because it's more of an intimate story and one that is more than plausible. There's not even a remote stretch of the imagination that this was going on. In that it's very accurate. Just knowing that and having the story with these characters and really hearing the dialogue, because it was more of a documentary style with Goodbye Uncle Tom, and you got the facts, which is great because these were facts and you're able to learn a lot. And also with Mandingo, you're able to get the dialogue and really pay attention to the words that are being used and what white people are saying to each other and what they're not saying. And I definitely think it's it's certainly up, and in terms of just overtness and just heavy-handedness, it's definitely in my top 2 or 3. I think of all time, films on white supremacy or that have could be informative on racism, white supremacy. Definitely, this film's up there. Just, whew. I always think, just compare the scenes where, just in, say, Roots, where, Kizzy's, even though she's mistreated, she's playing with, I forgot the name of the white female that she was a kid with, that she was playing with.
Missy Annie.
Yes, Missy Annie. And Missy Ann or Missy Annie?
Whatever.
Something like that, something white. Missy Annie, and she was, and she was just playing with her, and that's how they showed black children really, and how they showed black children in Mandingo. The contrast, they held fans while people ate dinner, ate lunch. Excuse me. They held giant fans and fanned everybody at the table. They were candle holders. They were just inanimate objects. They were the candle holders during their dinner. So, their candlelight dinner, there's just, black children standing there with candles. And the ultimate was draining the rheumatiz out of your feet by having, just essentially resting your feet or having your feet, pressing hard on a black child's stomach. And I thought it was very interesting when the guest was telling him how to about how to get rid of his rheumatiz problem. He said, well, they say if you put your feet on a naked Mexican dog, then it works. So it will work for a nigger because they're just the same. And therefore, throughout the film, white man, sitting in essentially his throne in front of his plantation house, and has a black child as his pedestal.
And when he was in the bed, he had a huge smile on his face. I immediately thought of pedophilia.
Oh, absolutely. I was telling Dee about that. I was like, Dee was like, look, he had a smile on his face, and I just knew as soon as I saw it, I was just like, oh, he's gonna definitely do some incorrect things to this child. when he leaves the room. And definitely rape this child. Not going to just cop out saying incorrect things. Just he was going to rape that child.
Yeah, if I was completely unaware of codification and probably more confused, but not as confused as I used to be. I don't know. Maybe this film would have, aided me. I think this film. I don't know. What do you guys think? I know no possible way of knowing without actually, I guess, doing it as an experiment. But what do you think would be the response from a confused non-white person to this film?
Well, they could have the reaction that, this didn't happen. But I think this would wake a lot of people up. Or, it might just offend a lot of non-white people to the point where they don't want to watch it anymore.
Mm-hmm. So, the Negro Saxon said he couldn't finish this film. It was too racist. Unquote. Said this film was too racist. I'm done. And I can't finish it. But I think that it could, because even when I saw it, and I saw it, a while ago, I do think that it can, if you're less confused, if you don't know about codification, but if you're less confused and not so identified and really, not attempting to, just bend reality to defend white people, you'll be able to really, at least be on your guard more about white people, and really would help in your understanding of how white people related to us and how they relate to us today. And I don't say that with every single person, but I definitely see more than not. But I do see that was so long ago, and we're so post-racial, and I'm sad something happened to that biracial, multiracial baby, and just all this nonsense, that is embedded in us in our current state. Oh, I wanted to ask you guys, what did you think about the rubies the ruby set that he gave to, that Hammond gave to both Big Pearl and Blanche, and that really was the catalyst for Blanche making her power moves with Meade.
Mm.
Like, do you think that was I was debating whether Hammond knew better and he was doing that intentionally to rile up the white female, because he knew that the slave Big Pearl was going to wear that, and was going to wear it, and Blanche was going to see it. So therefore, he was indirectly giving a message to racist woman. I don't know. Do you think that do you think it was he just legitimately cared and just wanted to give something nice because of losing his non-white child with a white, with him being the white parent?
I never really pondered on what his motivation was for giving her those earrings. I got to think about this for a second.
Yeah, I think I would agree with how you described his intention. I think it might be either that or just the caveman mentality, the sexual dimorphism, just not caring, whatever. These are wenches. This is my, cousin. Whatever. I mean, they don't display. They don't display. I don't think they're capable of displaying. I mean, so-called love or just overall affection for anybody, anything, let alone one another, given the, so-called differences. So I think it might be a little bit of both, actually, because I mean, you want to say he can't be that, ignorant to not think that, they wouldn't catch on. But you also, have to think he doesn't give a shit anyway, which, I mean, you really know he doesn't. So about the wenches or his wife.
This is also the case. This is true.
I agree. I think he didn't give a damn. And to top that off, I think he gave her the earrings, one, out of some sense of guilt, and two, to further confuse the non-white person. And to keep that non-white person in his, in his corner, defending white people, so to speak.
To the end of when she was about to stop him from killing Meade. And she was telling him, no, and he says, just don't think. And I think this is definitely, it should be the codified response, just pull it out and play it. Don't think that just because you're in my bed, you lay down in your bed with me, you're anything other than a nigger, and threw her down. I just think, that's, it's overt, it's racist, but it's honest, and it's not, it's honest, and that's it right there. And of course, have to find out when it's too late, like many non-white people have to find out after you're all, raped and, on an episode of SVU and just done, well, with white people, it's like, oh yeah, they were racist. Oh, and it's just, you could see even with Meade, at the end he just found out, oh, you were just a white person, and that's that.
I think typically, a lot of non-white people figure this out about people who are, that they think are exceptional, and they're just white people. Man, it happens over and over and over again, especially if you're confused about, how white supremacy works.
Tim Wise. Oh yeah, 2.5 minutes left in the program.
I mean, and even I know, and I'm still sometimes disappointed by white people's conduct, especially like when they do or say something that appears that it may have some constructive value, and then they go and directly contradict it. It's like, I'm not confused about racism, but why are you doing this?
Because it's still shaking your head where even though it's to be expected, it's still unacceptable. Just because you expect something, it doesn't mean you have to accept it. So as we have 1.5 minutes left, I guess I'll have my final thoughts. Just 1 p.m. Monday. K Kilo. We're definitely going to have to roll up the sleeves and get at this racist, get at this white person. But Mandingo, my final thoughts are just gotta watch it. Just watch out for mostly rape throughout the film, and confusion and blatant racism, white supremacy. No sex with white people.
No sex with white people? Replace white supremacy with justice immediately. Right now. Or as soon as we possibly can. I think that's the two messages I would take from this film.
And caller, you can close us out.
Very constructive program. Don't get raped by white people, or don't voluntarily get raped by white people. And replace white supremacy with justice, ASAP. Codify, modify. Thought, speech, and action.
Reckless 2.0. We'll be back.